I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.
Yeah, well, Jesse, when she had first kind of into the courtroom, I can't necessarily describe it as an intense moment necessarily, but I can only imagine what was kind of going through everybody's minds. You have Diddy's children on one side, his family on one side. You have Diddy, who was looking at Cassie at the moment that she walked inside that courtroom today. She was wearing a long brown dress. She is very, very much so, appears to be in her third trimester of her pregnancy. And so she kind of walked very quietly and very slowly up to the witness stand, took the, swore the oath and that type of sort, and then sat down for the prosecution's questioning. And then,
wait a minute. Cassie, who is their number one witness against Diddy, is testifying on day one. And they've already played the video where him and her were fighting in the hallway of the hotel. Usually you want to end with this because you want that to be fresh in the jury's mind before when you're doing your closing argument. So they typically would add their star key witness and save their best for last. Why is she in the front? Their entire case is built around Cassie. This is telling me the truth. There really is not much of a case. And by the legal definition of the word, let's see. According to Google, sex trafficking is the action or practice of illegally transporting people from one country or area to another for the purpose of sexual exploitation. Now, according to the men that were also having sex with Cassie, we're going to get back to this video in a second. According to the male escorts who testified today, Cassie actually was the one who initiated them peeing in her mouth. Now, I hate to talk dirty like this and salacious. It's not necessarily my style. However, let's not cut corners and pretend that things are the same as they used to be in the 1950s. Never, and I mean never, sit up and try to judge another person's sex life or what they do behind closed doors. You never know what somebody's into. There's nothing illegal about filming yourself having consensual sex with another adult. It could be on her 18th birthday. It's called Bang Bus. Look it up. They're in Florida. They will fly girls out on their 18th birthday, and there'll be 10 dudes, hairy, sweaty, old, and they will bang the hell out of these women and put it on video and sell it. That's legal. But when Puff Daddy does it, it's illegal. Why? Companies fly women around the world to do OnlyFans content and sleep with other actors. But it's illegal when a black rich celebrity dude does it, or an athlete or a politician that's being targeted. It's not a crime when it's done daily. I mean, there's thousands of websites where they sell porn legally, different types of porn. The point is they're all consenting adults. This is a consenting adult. This is a couple here. Now, what this couple chose to do to get off after years of being together, sex gets old. It happens. And you might want to watch somebody else have sex with your husband or have sex with your wife. That's normal. In this situation, to say that he was coercing her or trafficking her, when there's also men testifying, male escort testifies in court. Cassie is the one. Cassie, who initiated him to pee in her mouth. What are we talking about? Why is this on trial? Matter of fact, why are we listening? I'm listening to the trial, and it's basically it's like listening to a Zane novel on tape. You're basically describing these people's personal sex life to me. Why is that important? These people are nasty. Maybe she wanted somebody to fart in her ear. You never know. And if they did, it's her business. Where is the racketeering and sex trafficking? Where is that? Where is that? He's only being charged with certain things. 5 things. Two of the charges are redundant. It's the same charge twice. Transportation for trafficking and coercion or something like that. And then the other one is racketeering. And we'll go over the charges. I'm listening to the first day, what she's saying. A freak off lasted 4 days. Others 36 to 48 hours. Confirmed she was urinated on. What the fuck does this have to do with the charges? What? Okay, we're talking about my personal sex life right now. Why? That has nothing to do with, am I out here, the sound of freedom, trafficking Cassie from state to state, and I'm using those proceeds to sell mixtapes out of my trunk? Is that what you guys are thinking happened? You think Diddy made $1 million off of trafficking Cassie's box to other billion? Are you retarded? What are we talking about here? None of this makes sense. This is a huge smear campaign. I guess they just want to spank Diddy bad. Anybody with 2 brain cells, when you get the jury to go into that room and they ask the jury, were any of these charges is he guilty of? They're going to say he's guilty of other stuff. If peeing on people is a crime, lock him up, but it's not. Is having group sex illegal? It's not, so you can't lock him up. Is having something called a freak off, where you guys shove ice cubes in each other's butts or whatever you're doing, that's not illegal. This is 2025. That's actually normal now. You know, who's on your jury? Everybody's over the age of 80. They're used to being at home with the same woman for 50 years, having missionary sex. That's what we're comparing this to. Matter of fact, what is normal now? Who sets the standard for what is normal to do sexually? That's not your job. That's not our responsibility. Cassie was scared to lose Diddy, so she continued. How the fuck is that Diddy's fault? I am a man. Diddy's a man. If a woman is like, well, I'm going to do certain things because I don't want to lose my husband, how the fuck is that my problem, or is that me being guilty of something? Can I also go back in the future? I have an ex-girlfriend that I spent an exorbitant amount of money on. Can I go 3 years from now and sue her and file charges against her for embezzlement and money laundering and defrauding me? We're not together anymore. And I spent a lot of money on her when we were together because I didn't want her to go ask another man for the money. So I gave it to her myself. Is that a defense now? Is that a defense? Can I in the future say all the money I spent on my ex-girlfriend, paying her bills, buying her stuff, I only did it because I knew if I didn't do it, another man would do it and she would leave me for another man. And I was afraid. I was afraid of her leaving me. And I didn't want her to get angry, because you don't know my ex. When she gets angry, she turns into the Hulk. So is that what we're doing now? I can say that my ex, basically, I knew her ex-boyfriend would give her money if I didn't give it to her. So I should get that money back and she should be charged with defrauding me. I don't understand. Do people understand the kind of precedent they're trying to set here? She's saying she was scared to lose Diddy, so she did all kind of freaky sexual stuff. What is a woman's number one agency? Her sexuality. What is a man's number one agency? His ability to provide, his resources. So if men and women are equal, and this can go either way, can he also sue her and try to file charges against her for all the things he contributed to her life and things that he done for her, and say, well, I only did it because I didn't want her ex-boyfriend to come back into her life, or I didn't want to lose her to Post Malone or some other rapper? That's not an excuse. That's not a reason. That doesn't make sense. Oh, I'm scared to lose Diddy. Every woman is afraid of losing her husband or her boyfriend to another woman. Every woman is afraid. That can happen. There's nothing you can do about that. But for you to turn that around and pretend like, well, you were victimized or there was a crime committed because you were afraid to lose somebody is fucking ridiculous. It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't add up. A 4-day freak off. So you're meaning to tell me that there was an armed security guard at the door that kept you in there butt ass naked, getting peed on and lubed up and smacked around? There was Mossad agents with walkie-talkies, and Diddy had all kind of, he was Scarface, piles of cocaine, AR-15s. No. Literally, the male prostitutes, which is also their personal business, the guys who they're hiring for sex, they're telling you, she picked us out. She initiated things with us. Matter of fact, when Diddy is only one man, once maybe it doesn't work, and if it does work, once he shoots, it's over. She's the one who's still having sex for 36. Listen, it's physically impossible for a man to have sex for 48 hours straight and not die. Diddy would have been dead. You're not having sex for 36 to 48 hours as a man, but for a woman, I've seen it done. There's a woman right now out of the UK that's in America breaking records. Okay. She's doing 24-hour marathons, 1,000 guys. It's happening right now. Why isn't she in jail? If this is all illegal, right? Why isn't she in jail? Why isn't she arrested? Why isn't she being charged? Because it's bullshit. You cannot charge people for their freaky sex life. And regrettable sex is not great. Just because you regret something, I don't know many women that I've ever met my entire life who do not regret every time they had any kind of sex before the man they're with today. You better, if we're together right now, you better regret every man you ever slept with your entire life before me. That's what's supposed to happen. You're not supposed to say, yeah, actually, I'm glad. You're not supposed to say that. That should be illegal. If you're still thinking about all the men you used to bang before your current husband, that should be illegal, but it's not. But no one's regrettable sex does not mean someone victimized you, someone hurt you, someone forced you. You're not a victim. You regret it because you're not together with the guy no more. Now he's moved on. You see him with somebody else, and you're upset because you no longer have access to his resources. The way it works is, as a woman, it's your job to get along with me. You need to figure out how to work things out with your man. If he's the one providing the resources and taking care of you, you need to figure out how to get along with him. It shouldn't be the other way around, because we both don't need each other. He needs you emotionally, but you need him for everything financially. For example, let's look up and not to pivot off of the Diddy case, but there's another pending possible case. Let's look it up. Lil Wayne X. Let's see what she's saying.
Okay, so for everyone DMing me about my story I posted, yeah, this is actually a fact. Wayne literally kicked me and my daughter out on Mother's Day.
Why does your daughter look so old? And that's not his daughter. But let's continue.
Okay, and I am just recovering from surgery. I am 5 weeks out.
So she got a full body makeover, surgery, BBL, boobs, everything. Brand, and guess who probably paid for it? Wheezy F Baby paid for it. And guess what? She did not do what she had to do to get along with him. And you know what the nice guy did? He put her out over the phone. That way we don't got to argue in person and fight. He doesn't want things to get physical. But look at the mindset of these women today. Watch, listen. Her birthday that's not her father. Her birthday should matter to her father. Where's her father? That's not Wayne's responsibility. If you got an attitude, or if there was something you did to make this man want to leave you alone after he paraded you around for the past couple of years, paid for all your makeovers, paid to move you from New York to where he lives, and he's also supporting your kid. And I bet you still had the nerve to want to complain to him about other women, to complain about stuff that he's doing or not doing. You did everything that you were not supposed to do. You know what you should have been doing? Cleaning up, saying yes, sir, to whatever he needs, and playing your role. Well, guess what you were probably trying to do? Use him to start your business, Figure out how you can get from up under him, but use his wealth and his success to catapult yourself. He caught wind of it, and before you could make your, grand escape, he caught you, and instead of confronting you like a lot of other people will do, which is a mistake, he gently cut you off. He had his assistants go bag up and box up all of your stuff, and he broke up with you via text message. That way, you cannot start crying. He doesn't have to hear your tone. He can't get manipulated into forgiving you fast and letting you come back in. He's done with you. I know this because I had to do this to somebody. I had to leave someone. I had a girlfriend. I told her she needs to move out. She said, I'm not going anywhere. You move. Baby, this is my house. Everything in here I pay for. You're living here on me. You're living here off of me. And your grandmother was just living here. Your grandmother moved out. You're still living here. I told you should move. We're not getting along. You want to argue. You want to fight. You want to complain. Now you can go live by yourself. You don't want to leave. I did what Wayne did. Actually, I did it a little bit different. I told her, okay, you can stay in the house. I'm going to move. And I moved to another state. I sent somebody to pick up my car, to pick up my dogs, to pick up my PS5 and my computer, and told her she can keep the rest of the shit. She's flabbergasted because I'm not arguing with her. I'm not fighting with her. I don't want to scream and go back and forth with her. And guess what? I'm literally the last boyfriend she had. I try to tell people the relationship you're in today is probably going to be your last relationship. Figure out how to make it work because there's no one else better is coming along. This woman right here was with Lil Wayne. He's very frail. He's in poor health, small guy. All he needed was basically a really beautiful caregiver. But obviously she was doing things outside of that. But listen to what she's trying to say now. Now she's saying, I don't know how to process my emotions. Do y'all have lawyer recommendations for a girlfriend? Not a baby mama, not a wife, a glorified girlfriend. Some people call them a fiance. She wants to now sue him for money because now that she couldn't get him to marry her because she has a mouth on her. So he probably figured out that in the future, she's going to sue him. And he probably had a dream about it and woke up and said, the bitch got to go. But she also couldn't finesse him into getting her pregnant. So she has no legal grounds and there's no child grounds to sue him. So guess what she has to do next? What do I always say on this channel? What do I preach to men who listen to me and follow me? What do I tell my friends in person when everybody comes around me? If she can't get you to marry her in a bad contract, that she can sue you. And she can't get you for child support because you refuse to get her pregnant. Maybe you wear condoms. She has no choice. These women have no choice except to accuse you of something. If it's not rape, it's going to be battery. If it's not battery, then it's assault. Sexual assault or regular assault. Let's see which one she picks right now.
Please send them because
no.
Yeah, I know he has 2 girls being floated today. Who knows how many plethora of girls he has. I've been nothing but supportive to this man, loved him till the end of the fucking world. Okay, so for everyone DMing me about my story I posted, yeah, this is actually a fact. Wayne literally kicked me and my daughter out on Mother's Day today. And I'm just recovering from surgery. I am 5 weeks out from a full-on makeover. I can't even lift boxes, but this man has his assistant coming to help kick us out today. Like, he broke up with me on Mother's Day through text. Like, what? And her birthday's next weekend. And I leave to New York this week for all the Sports Illustrated press. Like, when I tell you that I am absolutely unsure on how to even process my emotions, like, if y'all got lawyer recommendations, please send them because
this isn't the video, but let's see here, right here.
I've been nothing but supportive to this man, loved him till the end of the I've been nothing but supportive to this man, loved him till the end of the fucking.
You know, that's the thing. You might assume you were being supportive and this, but what does the buyer think? You can say whatever you want. What is the person who you're supposed to be receiving this? Does he agree? The answer is no. And that's why he's kicking you the hell out. You cannot judge yourself. You cannot tell us how good you are. Let the person dealing with you tell us how good you are. Right now, you're not that good. Do me a favor, like and subscribe, share the video. We're going to keep going over this, the single boyfriend. And this is actually going to be on the Safe and Effective, the right-wing RICO page as well. We have to go through these stories because this is a problem. Men with money being accused of heinous crimes just so that women that we broke up with can have access to our resources, even though we're not with them. That has to stop. In the next few years, alimony will be banned. So will child support. Alimony and child support are instruments that will go away in the next few years. There's no other option. China's ahead of us. But women manipulating men and being able to take half their property or sue them for resources by having delusions of grandeur, those days are over. Child support and alimony will be abolished. There will not, in the near future, there will not even be a need for a prenuptial agreement. The fact that you need an instrument like a prenuptial agreement to protect you from a woman that you were in love with says already why our marriage rates are done. Our birth rates are done. Why do you think they're bringing in people from the third world? The third world, they do not have alimony and child support. So those people still get married and then they want to come to the U.S. and have a bunch of kids. But what they don't know is that if they're women who they brought here get hip to these American laws, then their family is done. Their kids are going to end up being gay. And also they're going to be sued and they're going to lose a lot to these women. It's unfortunate. These women actually win a lot of these homes in a divorce. Then they lose the home in a foreclosure, because just because you won the home don't mean that you can maintain it or you have the money to keep it. The whole notion behind these women is that they use their beauty to leverage money. In lieu of working, they provide beauty, but they also used to provide cooperation, sex, and they would clean and cook. So it's basically everything balled into one. But if you have a maid, a chef, and you still have to go out there and cheat because the woman at home is complaining, the smart thing to do is just to get rid of her. As long as you're not married to her in that bad contract and you don't have any kids by her. Most men I know nowadays are forfeiting. They are literally foregoing the whole getting a woman pregnant and then wanting to hold her hand, go down the aisle. Because every time you meet a woman that you think you're in love with and you introduce her to your friends and family, you find out she's having OnlyFans. You find out your friends used to have sex, or you find out she used to do this and this in college, or when she lived in Milwaukee, or that one summer in Florida. They embarrass you, and you have to let them go. She's not going to tell you what she did. And as a man, men don't talk, especially if you're black. They don't want to snitch. No one still to this day knows what Chris Brown and Rihanna were fighting over. He never told us what drove her to hit him first. Tory Lanez is in jail right now. He just got stabbed because he did not want to seem like a snitch against Megan, but she had zero problem making up a lie about him shooting her. You got to keep in mind where this is going. It keeps happening.
I've been nothing but supportive to the channel until the end of but from New York City where I was living and brought me here for this bullshit. Like, that's crazy, you guys. Like, these men really take advantage.
Wait a minute. He's paying for everything. He moved you from another state to where you are with him. So that means you had to have met him out somewhere traveling. This man changed your entire life and your child's life. And you want to say he took advantage of you, and you're seeing it also bleed over here into the Diddy case. There's a pattern. There's a pattern.
And it's not just the emotional abuse.
This man has actually laid a hand on me. It's not just emotional abuse. This man actually laid a hand on me. Really? Really? Little frail, little sickly, little Wayne is just punching up on you. What are you, 5'10", a good 180, big, thick ass woman. So you just had a body makeover. So you're probably down 40 pounds. You might be 5'9", 150, 140. However, You're a big woman, so it's not like he can really hurt you. I'll let her finish.
Like, no. And I took it, you know what's crazy is they always say like you're so stupid for love, and I thought it was like a mistake. But like
What's up,
I know other women he's put his hands on. And today, it's okay, we're about to go back to the house that we live in together with my fucking daughter. And we're gonna see what really goes down because this is absolutely crazy and a new world even for him. I've been nothing but supportive to this man. I've loved him to the end of this fucking world, but
literally, Lil Wayne and her will be in court. She's going to go to police in about a week. She's not going to be able to prove that he ever hit her, but she's going to try. So this is also going to be a civil case that eventually will become a criminal case. He will be under criminal investigation for assault and battery. Like I said, if she can't get you to sign a contract and she can't get you to get her pregnant, she's going to have to accuse you of something. And hopefully you'll be so nervous that you decide to give her a monthly salary in lieu of her pressing charges. And that's what the lawyers are involved to do. There's a lot of men who live under extortion, and it's just a part of their budget because you can't really prove your innocence most of the time. If it's you and her in a room by yourselves, you guys could have been in there kissing. She could have been telling you she loves you. And then you could have walked her to the door and she would have said, okay, babe, I'll call you in an hour. And you're like, okay, babe, have a good night. She could get in her Uber and tell the Uber, can you take me to the hospital? She gets to the hospital. She can say that she just woke up and all she remembers is somebody was on top of her. And she wants to get a kit done for grape. Once they do the grape kit, they automatically call law enforcement. My point is this. It's going to be her word versus your word. Now, if you don't do the RICO and you don't do what Shannon Sharp did, then you're not going to have any video to back up what you're saying. You're just going to potentially be a victim. It's crazy. Me bringing this topic up, I see that my numbers fluctuate. They go up and down as far as viewers because they don't want us to talk about this because this is true. If you don't have videos showing that everything was consensual and you didn't do nothing to her and she wasn't asleep or she wasn't belligerent drunk, then you're going to be in trouble. So when the lawyers reach out, they speak to each other and they come to an agreement. She's going to want $5,000 a month for the next 36 to 48 months. That's going to be a grand total of, it's basically going to come out to $500,000 or whatever. But she wants it in payments every month. If you can find 3 other athletes that you can make false accusations against and their agent finds out and they contact the lawyer and the lawyer negotiates a $3,000 to $5,000 a month extortion that you're paying this woman to not go to the police to basically cover her expenses for pain and suffering is what she's going to say. Now you might got $20,000 a month. Well, now you're in business. $20,000 a month for the next 5 years, you're in business. And that's how a lot of men live, and they don't talk about it. A lot of men deal with a lot of women, but every time you get one woman, and it's the perfect storm. You met her out, you guys go back to your place, she leaves your place, you didn't make any videos, you thought you guys had a good time, she never texts you anything, saying anything freaky, so you don't got any proof. It's just your word versus her word. And you need to make videos. You shouldn't be alone. Make sure there's other girls there, other friends there. Make sure there's witnesses. But you thought shit was sweet. You could just go live your regular life. This woman knows where you hang out at. She goes to your bars. She's pretending she doesn't know who you are. She knows everything about you. She's been hanging out at that bar, hoping to bump into you for the last 2 months. Because she knows you go there because you tagged yourself there or she recognized the decor in one of your videos. I've had it happen to me. Women knew my favorite bar in downtown LA and they didn't want to ask me for my number online. It seemed like they're stalking me. So they would just hang out there until I finally just showed up. And then, oh yeah, hey, I'm here. Oh, it's nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. It's a trap. They're trying to get close to you. The difference is with me was this. Because I had like this show that I was doing and I do little shows here and there, skits, and I do like comedy stuff and some serious stuff. But back in California, I was pretty known in my area. The only reason why nobody decided to come after me and make up some allegations when we broke up is because I never was alone with anybody. I always had a live-in girlfriend that would always be right there. So if a woman did want to say something when she got jealous or mad, she couldn't because I have a girlfriend there that's a witness. Actually, there's 3 or 4 other girlfriends that are there that are witnesses. As a man, you have to do basically what Neo's doing. And everyone's giving him shit because, and it's not everyone giving him shit, women are giving him shit because that makes it hard for them to come after you and make up stories about you because there's too many witnesses. So women want to encourage men to not date certain women, not have too many women around. They're basically teaching you how to line themselves up. You have to know better and not listen to women. This woman right now is trying to tell you that the first time anybody's ever said this, Lil Wayne is an abusive man that beats women because she's mad that he kicked her out and her daughter out. So what do you think Cassie Ventura is going to do over here? Do you think this is any different or any better? I don't see how this is any different than anything else. Cassie was scared to lose Diddy, so she continued to have freak offs. What they're also saying is that Diddy in messages are asking her, do you want to stop doing freak offs? She says no. And then she's excusing it, saying, well, the reason I said no was because I didn't want him to go do it with another woman. How is that my fault? How is that Diddy's fault? It's not.
But right now, I want to go live. Confirmed that she was leaving a freak off when the vicious beating kind of happened. As far as just some
a beating is domestic violence. This is not a domestic violence case. Again, they're just flooding bullshit and unrelated nonsense into the case. Domestic violence does not mean that I am sex trafficking you. Domestic violence has nothing to do with racketeering. It's domestic violence. People fight. Some days you win some, you lose some. They're showing when Cassie got the short end of the stick, but there's no video of when she used to go upside Diddy's head. And they're going to testify. She busted his lip. She, scratched his face. They fought. People fight. Do you know how long 10 years is? Do you know how old you can love someone to death, but do you know how easy and how fast you get tired of having sex with them, but you don't want to break up with them? Let's let him finish.
Other big highlights, we were shown a lot of photos of her and Sean, as she refers to him in court, as well as her friends. We saw a photo of him being Diddy, Kim Porter, another friend, and Cassie all at the 2006 BET Awards. We saw a photo of Diddy with Cassie, another friend, and another potential witness to this case, all sitting on a couch. We had seen photos of their trip to Miami. We saw photos of them at a strip club together here in New York City in 2007. For Halloween, she had spoken about just, her time working as an artist for Bad Boy, and just that pretty much, some of these allegations she had talked about in her lawsuit, but also that Diddy controlled a lot of aspects of her recording career. She signed a 10-album deal. However, she only put out 1 album plus a mixtape. A lot of the songs that she had even recorded had just gone either, unreleased, or they were leaked and that type of sort. And so some of those were like kind of the big highlights, I would say. They were kind of touching base on who all else kind of played a role in, as far as, security. She had named people like D-Rock and Bounds and Uncle Paulie and Malik. As far as assistants, we heard one of the big names being Christina Coram, as well as David James, Neil Dominic. And so that was kind of touching base a little bit as far as, how Diddy's staff kind of interacted with her. But for the most part, another eye-opening point was just that, Diddy had security around him 24/7. But she also had said that, sometimes the security's job was to kind of check on her and make sure that she was doing what she was supposed to, essentially, that, if she wasn't answering the phone when Diddy had called, that he would send his security to go and find her. And so, as far as just some of the testimony, I'm sure we'll get into more details as far as kind of, the freak offs and that type of those types of allegations. But, it really did start off pretty foundational. And I was pretty surprised at, how composed she was keeping it all while on the stand. Again, she was very soft-spoken, but she answered the questions directly. If there was something that she was confused about or wanted Emily Johnson to rephrase or just to ask again, she was open about that. There were very brief moments of laughter, but that was was just because, you know, it was nothing that had to do with any of those graphic allegations or anything like that. But it was just, you know, pretty much she was asked, like, why didn't you release more albums? And she's like, is that a question for me? And then there was a little chuckle. But for the most part, it was very much a serious tone. A lot of eyes were on Cassie. A lot of eyes were also on Diddy's children when they were talking, you know, for example, about Kim Porter and just how that relationship had ended while Cassie was starting her relationship with Diddy. And so we got to kind of see finally for a while now, because it's almost been 2 years since she had filed her lawsuit at this point, that we kind of got to see her explain her own view from her own mouth, as opposed to us seeing these allegations and like lawsuits.
So I have two questions for you. One, how was the jury responding to her testimony and more of the graphic points of her testimony? But also, what was Diddy doing? What was Sean Combs doing? Was he looking at her? Was she looking at him at any points? So again, what was the jury's reaction and what was the reaction between Diddy and Cassie?
Well, let me tell you, it was a very packed courtroom, so it was really hard to kind of see all the jurors and their faces. But from the little view that I got of just seeing these jurors, they were listening intently, like they have been even since yesterday, taking notes, kind of watching back and forth. Both, you know, the prosecution asked their questions, then going over and kind of looking at the witness, that being Cassie, while on the stand. Now, as far as Diddy goes, he was watching very intently. Like, let me tell you something. He is very much so participating in his defense. He is jotting notes down. He's passing these notes, because we do know when the cross-examination comes down, it's going to be Ana Maria Esteval who's going to be doing that line of questioning once the defense does get to the cross of Cassie's testimony. But as far as Diddy goes, he definitely kept his eyes on Cassie for the most duration while she was on the stand, which I can only imagine was felt intimidating on her, and possibly, I'm obviously not in her mind, so I don't know that 100% or anything like that. But as far as Cassie looking back in Diddy's direction, even when she had gotten off the stand, you know, she didn't look at him once. She just walked immediately outside through the gallery, didn't look at him, didn't look at his children. There was no type of like soft smile, none of that. I think, you know, even she might not have noticed her husband was right there in the courtroom too, but she kept laser focused, got out of the door, and then that's when everybody else kind of left the courtroom for lunch break.
Pretty surreal, to say the least. Let me ask you this. At the beginning of the day, we kind of got a sense of what's going to happen next. Everybody's been talking about the freak-off tapes or these sex tapes and how they're going to be visible in the courtroom, whether or not the gallery.
A freak-off tape. Why? Okay. If I'm sex trafficking you, that's the action of me moving you from location to location. What you do once you get to that location is inconsequential. How nasty and how dirty and how freaky y'all got at the freak off doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything. So what does it matter? Can you prove that I was against your will taking you and selling you to people? Now, you deciding you want somebody to pee on you or fart on you, or you want to rub their face in your armpit, what the hell does that got to do with the price of tea in China? It doesn't. What does that have to do with racketeering and sex trafficking and coercion? It has nothing to do with that. So why do you guys want to watch these tapes? And it's because he's a celebrity. He's a celebrity, and she's, you know, a pretty girl. And these are regular normies, and they just want to see some free porn. These are regular normies that have no sex life or they don't live in the real world. They're just basic NPC people, and they just want to hear other people's freaky tales and doing all the stuff that they can't do. You know, remember there used to be a show called Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous? Remember that show where people would basically watch TV shows about houses and celebrities that they wish they could be? And that's kind of what this is, except they're exploiting the lifestyles of the rich and famous. It's kind of like what TMZ does on steroids, just embarrassing these people, you know, a humiliation ritual. What they did at the freak off doesn't matter. Were you forced to be there or not is the question. And what you're doing at the freak off would not be an indicator if you were forced to be there or not, or if you were, you know, trafficked there. And these are grown ass people. You can never take responsibility from a consenting adult. Not in 2025. Women are equals. Women have agency. Women can choose to do whatever they want to do with whoever they want to do it with. There's nobody stopping these women from working, from voting Democrat. Nobody stops these women from doing anything. But now, conveniently, now she's a victim. Now she's a damsel in distress. Now she's scared. And since when? Men and women are equal. Can Puffy say that he was scared of Cassie? No, and nobody would buy it. And that's not fair. We have to keep things fair. None of this makes sense.
Is going to see these tapes. I imagine when she's going to have to talk about these tapes, she's going to have to view these tapes. What was the discussion earlier this morning regarding the tapes, how a witness will be questioned about the tapes, and whether or not anybody in the gallery will ultimately see them?
Yeah, so there was a lot of concerns about these exhibits, mainly more so, I guess, from us on the press ends portion, just seeing that these photos were sexually explicit and very graphic in nature. The government planned to show some of these images because they, according to the government, were 6 still images. There were nude images of victims that were sexually explicit, but the government kind of came up with a solution that, they would provide headphones to the jurors, so that way, we wouldn't hear any type of audio of these exhibits that were going to be portrayed.
How fragile is the jury? These are not dead neck. These are not bodies of people in Palestine being slaughtered. There's no limbs and dismembered body parts. These are naked pictures of celebrities. And what makes you think these people are victims? Did they bring themselves there by their own fruition? Yet did these people drive? Now, don't get me wrong. If they're in New York, they're at a hotel in New York, odds are they took an Uber or they took a taxi, because parking is hell if you're in LA or New York. These people were probably picked up in a limo, or they had a chauffeur pick them up. So that means they're trafficked because somebody picked them up. Did somebody drag them out of their house, forced them to put on that sexy lingerie, negligee underneath the trench coat and come to the party? No. Were they compensated? Yes. Yes. So if you are a man and you love beautiful women, but now they're saying it's criminalized because you want to give hot women money, in what fucking universe are we going to let that be the precedent? Where if a woman is really beautiful and you want to have sex with her, so you give her money, then what the fuck is a relationship? What is a relationship? I can't even date anymore. My ex-girlfriend was so beautiful that I literally used to just spend tons of money on taking her places and doing. So that's a crime now. And I only did it because she was good looking. I didn't do it because she had a great personality. She was a bitch. All she did was complain and nag. But for the first couple of months, her beauty blinded out my sense of hearing. So I didn't hear what she was saying until after we had sex a few times. And now it's kind of fading away. And I'm like, wow, she really does complain a lot. Like, what? I don't want to hear this. I just want her to be beautiful and shut the hell up. So you mean to tell me now that they're going to criminalize you giving women money and you bringing them, and they want to come to your party? Even if it's people like sex parties are like underground. People have sex parties every day. They're called swingers clubs. They have all these types of different names for them in every single city. It's called the lifestyle. So, but if you're a rich and famous man, you can no longer with your consenting girlfriend, you can't live the lifestyle, because if you guys break up, she's going to say you forced her. But at the time, she wasn't being forced. She just decided she was forced after the fact. We cannot set that precedent. We just can't do it.
The government wanted to keep this material out of public record. The defense, meanwhile, says it's pretty much adult pornography. And so that's when we kind of started.
It is adult pornography. It was being filmed, right? They were having sex, right? Well, then why do you need to show my naked pictures of my dong and the dimple in my hairy butthole? Why do you have to show that to the jurors? Yes, this guy Rico's ass is very hairy. Okay. What does that got to do with her being trafficked? Yeah, I can tell by how many hairs are on his ass, how fluffy his ass is. That means he trafficked her harder. And then to do all of this, and there's only one victim, and the victim is still alive and well and married and have a kid on the way, to force her husband. I don't know how her husband, and I don't know how the relationship survives, especially when they were married when she got the money from the settlement for several years. So her husband really is entitled to $15 million. Why wouldn't you just divorce Cassie, get her for child support, go get you a girl that looks just like Cassie that just never fucked Diddy, that's 22 years old? Just find one that looks like Cassie, go to the Philippines, go to the Bronx, find you a brand new chick that looks like her, and now you got $15 million and you can have a new life. And you don't have to worry about the fact that the mouth that you're kissing, that's kissing your kids, used to be full of urine, full of piss, just pissy. You know, I don't know how much Listerine it would take to get over that, but I don't know. I would think that her husband would do the right thing and just divorce Cassie, take his cut. Because let's be real, that's his cut. He put her up to this. Her husband put her up to this. I know it because if I was her husband, I would have put her up to this. Matter of fact, I would have been planning on suing him when I was still dating Cassie. This is the overplay for the underplay, is what they say. That's how you pronounce it.
Connecting the dots that these were, videos and images, these freak offs that the government is kind of talking about that's central to their case. The defense says it's a privacy issue, and they question what us in the press would pretty much do with these types of images. And you know what? We have a right to kind of talk about them, especially not in a salacious manner or anything like that. I don't think that was any of our intents on, being in the courtroom while these images were played or anything like that. But apparently it seems like, a point for the defense that, they were just wondering what the press would do about it, especially with so many eyes on this case. And so, they wanted to address this issue. The media did have a response through a lawyer. Not 100% sure what outlet they were with, but the media's response was pretty much that the press needs to see these. The testimony isn't necessarily suitable for these images because the big question is, was this consensual or was this coerced? And so the media lawyer offered maybe
I'll be honest with you, was this consensual or was this coerced? There's no way for you to prove it either way. Now, just you deciding to do something as an adult doesn't necessarily mean you consented to it no more. What we live in some weird fucking times. If I choose to do something at the time and I'm an adult and I have full agency, the fact that somebody can come back and tell me later that maybe I was coerced into doing it. What isn't coercion? When you're with a woman and she wants to go out to party and you feel like going to bed and she's like, well, then I'm going to just go do it with someone else. Or I'm going to go out with my friends. And you're like, no, I don't want her to do that because I don't want to lose her. Is that coercion? And if it is coercion, is that against the law? Why does it only go one way? Does it go both ways? No Diddy. But even these male prostitutes, right? None of these male prostitutes are saying that they were raped by Diddy. They're all just saying that, hey, we used to just smash Cassie. She had an appetite. Cassie had a sexual appetite for men. Diddy probably knew this and was like, instead of me breaking up with her because she has a high drive and she likes men, I'll provide the men for her. And I'll be honest, I've had a girlfriend like that too, but she was into women. And I remember me and her had broke up for a while. She got a new boyfriend and she told the new boyfriend I was her cousin. Anyway, I'm having a party. She shows up to my party with this new guy. And me and my other girlfriends are all looking at her like, what the fuck are you doing here with this dude? But the dude was a nice dude. He was cool. But me, I get a couple drinks in me, Rico, I got some questions. So I asked him, I was like, so, because she wasn't there. She wasn't in the room. She was somewhere else in the house. And I was like, so how many women do you feed her per week? And he was like, feed her? What do you mean? How many women do I feed her? I was like, well, she's a beast. How many women do you provide for her per week? Because, if you don't provide for her, if you don't got women for her, then somebody else is going to feed her. And he'd have no idea what I was talking about. That's how you get cheated on, is when you have someone that you're with and you don't know what they're really into. In this case, Cassie knew what he was into. She knew what he knew what she was into also. It's not like Diddy had her smashing a bunch of women. It's normally the situation. You want to see your wife with another woman or with other girls. You want to see a bunch of girls messing around. That's men's fantasy. But it has to be met in the middle. Some women they're not into women. They're into more men. I've had girls say, yeah, Rico, I know you were saying we should have a threesome, but I'd rather do it with two guys instead of with another girl. And I'm like, Really? But for me, it sounds alien because that's not what I'm into. But had I been into that, then it would have been a thing. But I mean, you got to think about it. She's going to do it one of two ways. That goes for men or women. Never forget this. They're going to do what they want to do one of two ways, either with you or without you. I just prefer that it's with me rather than without me. I'd rather her mess with women with me than behind my back. But I've had a girlfriend that was like, look, you got 3 or 4 friends that, that are guys. And I was like, what? That's what you're into? And you know what else she said? She said, yeah, I plan on going to Jamaica because I want to go to hedonism. What is hedonism? Hedonism is when women go to Jamaica and they just basically have like gangbangs with like 5 to 10 men and on one woman. And then people act like this is foreign or this doesn't happen. This is what a lot of people are secretly into. That's why I said having a trial based on someone's sex life is fucking ridiculous. Cassie was into hedonism. Cassie was into group sex with men. Diddy just provided it for her so that way she wouldn't have to go mess with Kid Cudi to do it. So when I asked that guy how many women does he feed her a week, and he didn't know what I was talking about, guess what his new girlfriend, which was my old girlfriend, was doing 2 days later? Back at my house, messing with 2, 3 girls at a time. And because she's at my house, of course, I'm there. So that's a given. And where is he at? At home. Where does he think she's at? Her sister's house for 2 days. And I'm not even saying I'm Diddy. I'm not saying I'm in there fucking for 48 hours straight. Oh no. No, you get 20 minutes out of Big Rico, and then I got to take a break. I'm drinking some water. I'm playing video games or whatnot. I'm not just going 3 days straight. But it seems like I am because the girls can go for days. I'm a man. I'm in spurts. I'm a sprinter. I'm not into the marathons. But let's listen to the rest of this.
Just the pool reporters to see these types of images, so that way there would at least be some media who could report about this. And so from the media's response, they completely objected to total sealment of these images and says that it's a First Amendment issue. And so this is going to be taken up probably at a later time, possibly when we all come back from the lunch break, just to kind of get a better picture of it. But it seems like, from both parties that they are kind of fearful about these images getting out. But on our side, we have a right to report on what's going on. I mean, look at just the media camp outs just behind me. A lot of people have interest in this, not just for salacious headlines or anything like that, but because this is a very high profile and criminal case. And of course, we will respectfully report on it if we are able to see these images.
Real quick, Elizabeth, I want to get you back to that courtroom. 30 seconds. If you could just explain what the scene is like today.
Well, the scene is very much so a lot of high energy, a lot of anxious energy, and maybe I'm just saying my own personal feelings because it was pretty tense this morning as a lot of people were just trying to battle to get inside that courtroom because everyone wanted to be in there when Cassie took the stand. Everyone wanted to see her raise her right hand, swear an oath, and to get inside that courtroom. So there was a little tense moments from people either cutting in lines or people trying to get ahead as well. But as far as, from the family's perspective, I had mentioned yesterday that the daughters had walked out during Daniel Phillips' testimony. That wasn't the case today. Everyone stayed in court, stayed in place. They were listening to all the testimony that was going on today. And so for the most part, it just seems like, okay, this is day 2. A lot of people are just wanting to know more information. What are we going to be getting out of this case? Is this a criminal case, or is this, very much so possibly a domestic violence case? The defense is trying to kind of paint it out. But as far as the mood inside that courtroom, it's very tense, I will say, mainly because a lot of people just have their eyes on this very important testimony from one of the biggest witnesses and one of the biggest players inside this case today.
Elizabeth Milner, thank you so much for being our eyes and our ears about what's happening in that courtroom. No cameras, no audio equipment, but we got Elizabeth, and she does a fantastic job. Thank you so much. And I know you have to head back to the court. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to continue to take your questions. I am here once again with trial attorney Rich Schoenstein. So, Rich, you heard that description, okay? You heard the description about her testimony. We've been talking about it, hearing the jurors' reaction, hearing, by the way, how Cassandra Ventura responded, or the lack of response towards Diddy, not even looking over his way, him staring intently at her. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, and it's hard for a witness. What's the right thing to do? Is the right thing to look at him? Is the right thing not to look at him? I think probably not looking at him is better optics than she takes the stand. I think that's fine.
When she's going to be in a position where she has to watch these tapes, presumably that's what's going to happen, and have to be questioned about these tapes, both under direct examination and cross-examination. I know Elizabeth said she's very calm and composed. I wonder if things might change then, and what we should take away from that testimony.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough thing to do. She's going to be asked about the tapes. She's also going to be asked to describe what's happening. She's going to be asked to identify people who are in that video. She's going to be asked to, identify the prostitutes, right? Because that's a big part of this case. So who is paid to be there in these videos? And she's almost going to have to do like play-by-play. It's incredibly uncomfortable. I don't know how she's going to do it.
I think the most significant parts of the tapes are if you see or hear Sean Combs directing her, right? Particularly in a aggressive manner to take certain steps or actions. That will go towards sex trafficking.
Yeah, and she's probably been through these tapes. They've taken her through them many times to prepare for the trial, to go over to get the case ready, to figure out who everybody is. So it's a little different when you get on a witness stand and do it in front of a jury, but it's not the first time she's looking at it.
We're taking your questions right now again on YouTube as we wait for the testimony of Cassandra Ventura to resume. Question from Nomad. How many kids does he have? I believe he has 7 children. Question from Sarah McGowan. Can charges for co-conspirators come from this trial?
Well, I don't think they come from the trial necessarily. They come from the investigation leading up to the trial. And it's a question here whether the government wants to bring charges against co-conspirators or others. I think they were more interested in having witnesses. I said when this all started that probably people were deciding if they were going to be witnesses or they were going to be defendants, because I bet the government brought some pressure to bear on that decision.
Question from Alpha and Omega Forever. Will the prosecution subpoena other celebrities seen in the evidence later in the case? That's presuming there are celebrities that are, well, let me rephrase. In the lead up to this trial, during the jury selection process, there was a people and places list, right? Does the jury know any of these people and places? There were some celebrity names on there. That doesn't mean they're in the tapes, doesn't mean they're part of relevant evidence, but will the prosecution subpoena celebrities in this trial?
Yeah, I don't know. That goes back to the discussion we were having. Is it actually in the prosecution's favor to drag other celebrities into this and make it maybe seem like a Hollywood thing? If they had certain people who had important testimony to give and were willing to cooperate and do it, then they might want to put it on. But I don't know if that's happening.
Question from Rachel Wilson. People outside the courthouse admit they're trying to influence the jury, not just protesting. Could they be held accountable for that?
I don't know if they can be held accountable. We see this now in trials. There's a trial some people are watching in Massachusetts where there's been a big fight about who can be in front of the courthouse, how far do they have to be in front of the courthouse. Yeah, that's it. You've heard of it. So if it starts to be a problem, then the parties can address it with the court. And the court has some power to say, yeah, we're not going to let anybody line up where the jurors come in and out, because that would be hard for them, right? That's the one thing you don't want them doing, is influencing the jury. Otherwise, people will have a right to be outside the courthouse. They have a right to make their opinion known.
I will tell you, the time that I saw this in a way I've never seen before was Johnny Depp Amber Heard. When I was in that courtroom, when Amber Heard was testifying, the courtroom was filled with Johnny Depp supporters. And I will tell you, as she was testifying, there were snickers, there were people murmuring under their breath. The court deputy had to come over and tell people to be quiet. That created a different environment, and I didn't like it. And that was a problem, because from a purely legal point of view, you don't want that outside pressure on the witnesses, on the court, on the attorneys, on the jury. I didn't like it.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. I'm pretty sure Diddy doesn't like being embarrassed like this in front of the world. They said he was going into sex shops and buying butt plugs and that's all stuff that men do. People do that. Adults do that. But now it's coming out and it's being put on record that he's just into all this kink. But I mean, Cassie was a beautiful woman. He was having his parties with her. How can you can't criminalize that. And look how pretty this chick is. You think she wouldn't have been at a freak off if billionaire Diddy walked up to her and invited her to a little party and told her to wear something sexy? She would have been there too. But I don't know why everybody's pretending to be so sanctimonious. We're not. Very few people left really are. Everybody else has their own little deviancy.
Hi, John. Good afternoon. Well, Cassie Ventura, who is still on the stand, has testified that she was a fan before meeting Sean Diddy Combs, describing him as larger than life. She says when they were finally introduced, he began to control her life and every aspect of it. So Ventura, who is now married with kids and due to give birth soon, testified she was 19 and there was a 17-year age gap when she met Diddy and signed with his record label. She said their relationship turned sexual when she was 21. The pair was in a relationship for a decade. She says at first it was private because Diddy was publicly with someone else and worried about optics.
So she was a side chick. Why does that matter? It doesn't. What does this have to do with racketeering, sex trafficking, coercion? You were his side chick. He was married to, I believe, Kim Porter. You were the side chick. There's tons of side chicks. She was just talented and she was really pretty. How does this make him that deserve to go to jail for life? Like, none of this equals him deserving to go to jail for life. And I'm not even a Diddy fan. None of this even matters. None of it.
She says the rapper introduced her to freak-offs, which are at the center of the case, according to prosecutors who described them as drug-fueled sex performances with male escorts that Diddy coerced women into having while he watched.
Bro, that does not take coercion. You're hiring hot, jacked sex workers. You're hiring because you want them to be there. And then you're giving the women a catalog of men to choose from like a fucking buffet. And now that's a crime? That's a crime. But yet the websites where these people market themselves are not taken down and the agents are not arrested in mass. Neither are porn scouts, because a lot of these escorts also do porn. They're also former porn stars. So the porn companies aren't shut down. Bang Bus is still around. What is it called? Bang Bros is around. Pornhub is still a thing unless you're in Texas. But when Diddy does it, well, now it's a crime against humanity. Call the UN, call Klaus Schwab, call the World Economic Forum. Now it's a problem because Diddy's doing it. Why? Because he has money. Why? Cassie is alive and well and healthy and married. You think that Diddy's the first man she was with that she had, so she was a virgin when they met? She wasn't out here smashing guys, maybe having men and women, maybe. You think Diddy didn't find out that she likes men more than women? And he didn't just put this together to satisfy her appetite? Because that's what it sounds like when you're talking to the male escorts, the male porn stars, the talent, because he probably can't smash, or he's watching. It's not really his thing. He's already smashed her 1 billion times. He's tired of having sex with her, but he doesn't want to break up with her. So he hires other people to have sex with her in his stead. And because he's there, he still gets credit for it. And, which is true, because think about it. Everyone knows his name. Nobody knows the name of these men. Nobody cares. So he still gets credit for it both ways. For wrong and for the right reasons.
Cassie testified that freak-offs became something she did not want to do, but felt like she had to keep him happy. She told jurors one of these encounters was happening when Combs was caught on camera assaulting her in this disturbing 2016 Los Angeles hotel surveillance video, obtained exclusively and released by CNN last year. Diddy apologized and has since deleted Instagram posts. She also said Diddy
You know what? Now that I'm watching this video, it looked way worse before. This whole domestic violence in a hotel thing, it looked really bad at first when I first saw it, like last year. But now I'm like, I've seen couples fight way harder than that. He grabbed her and pulled her down, and then he like kind of kicked her butt a little bit, but he wasn't on top of her, just MMA pounding her or anything like that. It's just a couple fighting. It looks like kind of like when your girlfriend, you're in the shower and she takes your phone and runs out the room because you guys have been fighting over somebody texting you all day. See, this is why I don't do live-in relationships anymore. I did my time where I'm fighting, arguing every day. I'm not doing it anymore. But this is also from 2015. This is outside of the statute of limitation. This video doesn't even matter. But he's not literally beating the woman to death. They're fighting. That's what couples do. We don't know what happened in the room. He could have got the short end of the stick. We don't know. No audio.
Hotel surveillance video obtained exclusively and
He doesn't punch her. He just grabs her by her damn hoodie.
released by CNN last year.
Snatched her by the hoodie and threw her to the ground.
Diddy apologized in a since deleted Instagram post.
He's wearing socks. So he's not wearing some Timberland boots. He's not wearing some butters. It's just his foot. And she's laying there like a dead body because she knows there's a camera watching.
He also said Diddy had mood swings and was often violent towards her, leaving physical marks, and that instead of music,
he's pulling her by the sweater. It's not by her hair. It's not by her throat. Not saying it's bad, but it used to look real. It used to look way worse. This is domestic violence. Domestic violence is not trafficking. It's not racketeering. This has nothing to do with the charges. So why are we showing it? It's like they know he's going to get off, but they want to embarrass him so bad that the industry Chris Browns him. But the problem is the industry needs him more than he needs them. Just like Chris Brown cannot be canceled. Yeah, they can talk a lot of shit and protest against him still because of what happened with Rihanna, but nobody really knows the reason why, and Rihanna still fucks with him. So how is that a problem for you?
breakoffs became a job for her. She testified that the longest of these sexual
And he leaves her in the hallway. He goes back to the room.
performances lasted 4 days. Diddy made a heart with
I mean, it's pretty impressive that they're saying that he lasted for the event lasted for 4 days. That means he had different girls coming and going, different guys coming and going, and fucking and getting high and drunk for a binge. They binged. You never went on a binge for a few days? I mean, that's not that uncommon.
the family in court today. He has pleaded not guilty to all the charges. His defense attorneys have admitted to jurors that Diddy's relationships were toxic and there was domestic violence, but they've said all the sexual encounters were consensual.
And that's it. Yes, I'm toxic. Yes, I'm this and this and this and that. But that does not mean that I'm trafficking people against their will. I might be an asshole. I might be a freak. I might got different girlfriends, but that doesn't mean that time that we spent together, I was trafficking you. I have other people I'm dealing with and other people I'm romantically involved with. That doesn't mean when we're together, it was forced or coerced or trafficked. That's not what that means.
Cassie's since settled 2023 lawsuit led to
Bro, who is this chick? She is fine as hell. Let me see, what's her name?
dozens of other sexual abuse claims, all of which Diddy denies. John, back to you.
CB Cotton Forest with the latest from New York. CB.
What's her name? CB Cotton Forest. What the fuck kind of name is that? Let me see. What did he say her name is?
CB Cotton Forest with the latest from New York. CB.
CB Cotton Forest. What the fuck? Okay.
All right, coming back here to New York City. Witnesses are back on the stand. Sean Diddy.
And notice, because Diddy's black, they're using a bunch of black women in every one of these segments to report on it. Because I guess if you're not black, then you're racist, which is fucking ridiculous.
Diddy calls his federal sex trafficking trial. This morning, the rap mogul's defense team cross-examined a male escort who testified yesterday in graphic detail about several violent and sexually explicit encounters with Combs and his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Ventura is now on the stand, although we do have a warning. The details in this particular testimony may be upsetting to some of our viewers. NBC News correspondent Rahema Ellis is currently live outside that courthouse. Rahema, all eyes are there in the courthouse behind you. But right out of the gate, Ventura described an abusive
All black women reporting on this. What are the fucking odds of that?
relationship with Combs and taking part in these so-called freak-offs. What did she say?
Oh, she said a lot, Morgan, but let me set the scene for you. We're talking now about a 38-year-old woman who is married and the mother of 2 children, and she is 8 months pregnant, expecting her 3rd child. She sat down, as you point out, in the witness box.
I don't know why any of that
And
matters.
she testified that she met Sean Combs when she was 19. That's when she signed a record deal with him with Bad Boy Records. And then she says, and when she was 22 years old, the sexual relationship began, and it was tumultuous. She was asked by the attorney, did you have arguments, Ventura? Yes, they were violent arguments, usually resulted in physical abuse and dragging different things. He would mash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me. The attorney, were you ever injured? Ventura, yes. Usually I would get knocks on my forehead, black eyes, red eyes, bruises all over my body. It just depended. And she talked about that at 22. That's when Sean Combs introduced the idea of sex parties, and that she said she went along with it. She said, my stomach churned at first. I didn't have a concept of how that would be. I was confused, nervous, but I also loved him very much and wanted.
Okay, look. At 22 years old, the man you're with tells you he wants to have sex parties. You could say no and not go. You decide to participate in them for 10 years, and then you decide that you want to marry somebody else and not do them no more. Literally, you were getting too old to do them anyway. Young Miami is a lot younger than her. She was getting too old. She was aging out. Once she aged out, she found a husband. Diddy let her go because she was of no more use anyway. That's how it goes. That does not mean you get to come to me for resources so I can support you and your new husband, which is what Diddy is basically doing when he settled that $30 million lawsuit. He's supporting her and her husband. I see that now the husband is going to be able to get rights to the kids, and she's going to have to pay him child support. Because that's what happens. You see a lot of white dudes, they marry these black chicks like they did Halle Berry, and they get that money and they get child support from him. He's a smart guy. He put this whole thing together to go after Diddy, and it worked. Congratulations to him. He outsmarted the program. A lot of people hated Diddy. The personal trainer was the one that brought him down because he's the one who put Cassie up to this. Because, life as a personal trainer and her as a ex-girlfriend of a billionaire, there is not a lot of money in that. But there is money in making up stories, and there's money in pretending you were a victim. But there's no way she can really say that with a straight face, because not Diddy peeing in your mouth, but another man you were allowed to pee in your mouth when Diddy wasn't even watching. How do you put that on Diddy? It doesn't go over well. This doesn't make sense.
To make him happy. Morgan?
I'm also really curious about what this male escort said for Rahema, because this is information that seems new. He talked about Cassie's state of mind during this encounter. He described the couple at a hotel about a decade ago. What did he say happened there?
And how do you even remember everything that happened in detail 10 years ago when you were high and drunk and with a bunch of dick pills raging through your body?
There were many encounters, and this one he talked about on the witness stand. He testified that there was a moment that he was with her, and Sean Combs was there also. Sean was always there, and in fact, these encounters were being taped, and he was watching and directing. And he said there was a moment when Cassie was on the computer. He wanted her to come out, and instead he ended up dragging her into
Rahema, we'll come back to you after the break. Stay right here.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news.
A bunch of black people on all of these. Look at this black. Get the fuck. Male escort testifies in court that Cassie is the one who initiated for him to pee in her mouth. She told me to do it. Let me go ahead and repost that. 10 years. 10 years of only being with the same one person is insane. The freak offs became a job. I don't know how anybody can convict him of sex trafficking when the woman who they're saying was trafficked said it was a job. So every time I heard about a job, you were paid for it. Well compensated for this job. This was not just him beating her and taking her around and charging other people. Sex trafficking, I guess, would be him charging other people to have sex with her. You're bringing her to other people for sex. This is you and her having sex. And then she's picking up men that she wants to have sex with. So is every man she's ever had sex with going to get charged? Is her new husband going to get charged? I mean, how is it different? It's still sex with her. So can she in 5 years say that her new husband coerced her into having sex with him and manipulated her? And I wonder how many people will buy it. I'm sure quite a few. This is just getting more and more unbelievable. The stuff that people are willing to project onto others, and just completely removing all responsibility and agency from the women involved. All responsibility. They can do no wrong. They cannot choose that they want to have sex. They have no control over themselves or what they do. It's just the man's fault. The man made her do it. No anything. No personal responsibility, no accountability. Somebody made her do it, which is, I don't understand how that's a thing. You know, she has the right to say no. She had a right to leave, but yet she stayed for a reason. She stayed because she was into it. Let me guess, just for me is that's abuse now that he dyes his hair because he wants to look younger. And he doesn't have access to all of his beauty supplies while he's in jail. Okay, that happens. Drugged by her hair into a bedroom. This is all domestic violence. None of this is sex trafficking. Even having sex instead of continuing to have sex with a male escort for money, that's not sex trafficking. What is he trying to say? He trafficked the male who was being paid to have sex. So the guy who he hired, that's him trafficking? No, he hired the guy. People are just, it's like they're perverting the definitions of these words in English. These words have clear, distinguishable definitions. The action or practice of illegally transporting people from one country or area to another for the purpose of sexual exploitation. What's sexual exploitation? Is when you treat somebody unfairly in order to benefit from their work. I don't even know if that applies. Don't know. Doesn't sound like it does. Today in court, Cassie shared that some of the drugs she would take when she didn't feel like doing free calls would make her vomit, and Diddy would tell her to keep going, even if she felt sick. And she could have said no. She's a grown-ass woman. Grown as hell. She could have afterwards broke up with him and went and got a job, man, worked at Subway or something. Just because you stayed with a man for his money doesn't mean everything that subsequently went on afterwards is abuse. That's ridiculous. Like and subscribe, share the video. We're going to come back and go over some more topics in a little bit, but I'm going to just wait. So I'll be back. Thank you.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.